How are the students?
The students at Sequoyah, when I went there, I actually went to Sepulpa my freshman and sophomore year, and when I got to Sequoyah, it was a bit of a change because at Sepulpa we had an Indian club, so we had our own little clique and everything. So we'd all hang out together, about 4 or 5 of us, get a lunch and go eat in the Indian Ed room. When I got to Sequoyah, it was a big difference because everybody's Indian, so it was a lot more relaxed atmosphere. There's the same kind of groups or cliques that you have in most schools, but everybody has some sort of commonality just because we're all Indian. We have a sense of there's always more of a sense of family or a camaraderie because it just seems, since we're a minority, it's such a small minority, it's kind of like us versus, sometimes it feels like us versus the world sometimes. So the students, there are some good students, there are a little bit of bad students, but nothing too much. I remember, I think my year is kind of like the last year of transition where they're trying to kind of weed out all the bad kids, all the kids that are considered high risk, or maybe even try to get all the alternative school kids out. I know a lot of the younger kids below me were more of a, I guess kind of like they were screened more carefully than the other ones. So it was getting to the point where things were changing, where it was getting towards the end of the change, where it went from the school being alternative for bad kids and everything to right now, as it is, it's called the school choice. So that's how the students were.
Okay. And how many tribes?
There's quite a bit of difference in tribes. There is, we got the 5 civilized tribes. We got tribes from Oklahoma, you get some Apache, you get some Comanches, some Kiowas, you get Plains Indians. But also have kids from, we actually had quite a few from out of states because my senior year actually stayed in dorms, so I got to know some of the kids that are in the dorms that didn't stay around. We had kids from, I know we had one girl from Wisconsin, we had a girl from Upper New York, we had, I believe I heard, we had a few Florida Seminoles. We didn't have any Choctaws. We had a couple kids from their Navajos, from their reservation that came up, but for the most part, they're mostly kids around the Oklahoma area. So.
Okay, and how were the facilities?
The facilities, coming from Sepulpa, which isn't known for their facilities, they actually weren't too bad. I was actually kind of expecting maybe even worse because I always heard about Sequoyah, kind of like just not even kind of like in the background because I always heard about it. But actually, the facilities were very nice. The one thing I was most impressed with was their weight room at Sequoyah, coming from Sepulpa, which was kind of one of the lower end of the 6A scale, so there had all the money and everything facilities. But I did remember they kind of had the old ghetto gym that we played in because I remember some of the basketball games we actually had to go to an 7th and 8th grade center called Briggs to go play basketball, or to go watch basketball games because I didn't play basketball at the time. I mean, compared to Sepulpa classrooms and everything, they're about just as nice as you'd see anywhere else and everything else. Football field is probably a little bit kind of like, it was just like a normal 3A school, it's nothing too fancy, nothing too, I wasn't kind of used to it because at Sepulpa we had football was one of the bigger sports and you had a really nice, I guess it was bigger for a higher capacity of people, but I was actually pretty pleased with the facilities at Sequoyah.
And how was the faculty?
The faculty, I actually really liked the faculty. I remember the first day I had class, the very first class was an older white lady. I don't even know if she was Indian. Her name was Miss Gibbons, and I've come to find out after talking to Christian that she was actually there when she taught with his mom, Irvina. So she goes way, way, way back. She goes back I believe she graduated 1971, so she goes back, she goes pretty far back. I remember her, and she was pretty nice. I mean, she was kind of strict. She was more on the stricter scale, but other teachers were very nice. I really enjoyed most of them. I really liked I liked them all. The front office people, they're really nice. The security is always really nice. Everybody seemed to be real friendly and kind of more of a personable than from what I was used to at Sepulpa, where teachers didn't necessarily not get to know you, but you didn't see them on a consistent basis. Like once you saw them, you're usually done and you never seen them again. So it was kind of it was a more personable experience.
And how did the community view Sequoyah?
Like I said at the time, I think Sequoyah is pretty much at a changing point where it's going from the school of alternative kids to more of a school of choice, because I think sports has had a lot to do with it. You had my junior year come in, we had a really good football team, so a lot of kids got, for some reason that kind of picks up the morale of the school and the community, how that sees around there. They seek success, so they, success kind of just creates more of a positive attitude. And especially my senior year, especially with the girls basketball team where we had, as everybody knows, Angel Goodrich and Lauren Hammer and Cassie, what's her name? Moore. And they ended up, taking the girls to the championship and winning the championship the first year as all freshmen. And for some reason that kind of created a huge hype and huge buzz, and kind of, I guess that was like the first year where the transition was finally made. Everybody started viewing Sequoyah as something, something that's really good, and they wanted to get their kids into because facilities were getting nicer. They were talking about building a new basketball gym. They had new stuff, and I think the community outlook on that was still, you had some bad feelings towards it, but for the most part, it was good, especially among Indian people.
And during the sporting events, how was the opposing team and the crowd?
Me personally, I never really had much to deal with it, because when I played football, when I was on the field, I didn't really pay attention to crowds. I didn't pay attention to other opponents and everything. Like I said, in my junior year, they're really good, so there's a lot of positive attitudes about them. I mean, there wasn't anything really too much bad talking and stuff. But there's always rumors of Sequoyah recruiting because they're more of a boarding school and stuff like that. I know when I was at basketball games, however, some of the crowds would get a little hostile, especially for some reason. Christian schools were always a big rivalry, just because the boarding school and kind of like the past of boarding schools and stuff like that. So for some reason there was always kind of this tension between, and they're also looked upon as more of the upper echelon of society, white society, because kind of have the Indians being down the lower end and Christian schools being on the upper end. So there's kind of a lot of diversity, or there's a lot of conflict, I guess, and that can be in that sport. And I know some of them were. So, but for the most part, they weren't too bad. Just mainly crowds yawing and stuff like that.
Okay. And what is your favorite memory of Sequoyah?
I think my favorite memory, it's a hard one, because there are a lot of good memories. I can't really pick out one, but I think the first one is my very first experience with Sequoyah, which was, I believe, my sophomore year. I was still at Sepulveda, and this is my dad was chief, so he had talked about Sequoyah, and I've heard about it, but never really paid much attention about it. But we went to their state championship game when they were playing, I want to say it was Metro Christian at the time, and Metro was supposed to be this really big team, nobody's going to beat them. Then you're playing this little school, Indian school, a bunch of smaller Indian kids that are fast, and I just remember the first experience is just seeing at the state tournament, having this huge bunch of gathering of Indians just all there to support. And when it came down to it, I finally realized after years that they weren't just all Sequoyah fans, they're just all Indians. They're just there to support one another. They weren't necessarily had a kid or knew anybody that played on the team. They just wanted to come and watch and support them just because they're Indian. And that's probably one of my favorite memories, or especially also I noticed as my sister plays, if we go on the road, people just come out to support Sequoyah just because of the fact that they're all Indian.